Hello and welcome to another fun and exciting lesson all about preferences in Bridge. I know. Again, we're going to just go through this as quickly as possible so we can get through all the preference settings set up to help us work faster and more efficient in Bridge. So let's go ahead and quickly go over some of the preference setups, and then we can get into more of the fun and exciting lessons. So if you're on a PC, then you're going to want to go up to Edit to access the preferences, and if you're on a Mac, you're going to go over to Adobe Bridge and turn on preferences from there. And the keyboard shortcut is Command or Control and the letter K, which is the same for Photoshop as well that you learned about in a previous lesson. So here's all the different options and preferences that we can set up for Adobe Bridge. Let's start with General first, and then we'll go through all the others. So if you want to have Adobe Bridge launch when a camera is connected, you can turn this on. Honestly, I have no idea what this setting is, but it's something that I don't have turned on. And then if you use this keyboard shortcut combination here, it's going to open up the loop view when you're in preview or reviewing mode. You can also list a number of recent items to display. I just have 10 set as the default. And then for my favorite items, which would be under this favorites tab over here, you can list 5 different options, or if you're on a PC, it might be a different amount. I'm not sure because I'm not on a PC, but I do like to have all these items listed in my favorites tab so I have easy access to some of my favorite items. And then with this reset button, you can reset all the warning dialog boxes if you made any changes in preferences and you want to go back to the Photoshop defaults. Okay, under thumbnails, you can set up the performance and file handling of your images within Bridge. And the first option is processing files larger than a certain size. I have 1000 megabytes, which is 1 gigabyte. And then with this option, you can set up to have thumbnails created versus previews. So if you choose to have thumbnails generated, that simply means it's going to create a new file based on the preview. A preview is going to show you a preview of the file within that file. So for example, a raw file is going to have a preview file within it, and then you can view it via that preview versus the thumbnail. So if you're low on hard drive space, you may want to turn this off and just use the file already generated by either your JPEG file or your raw file. Now underneath the thumbnails or the preview images, we have some information. We have the image file, we have the resolution and the size of the file, and you can add some additional information with these options here, and you can also choose from other options within the drop-down menus as well. So you can show or hide as much information about that file as you want within the preview interface right here. And then if you want to show tooltips, you can turn this on. And then we have playback. And this has to do with your audio and video files that you're viewing within Bridge. And you can set some default options for those types of files from here as well. Next, we have metadata, and this will simply allow you to choose what to show and what to hide within the metadata frame over here to the right. And then you have some options for keywords as well. You can set it up to automatically apply parent keywords. So, for example, let's go ahead and get out of this and go over here. You could have a Lightroom keyword, and then that would be the parent keyword for all the keywords within it. So right here we have a subcategory of presets. So if I select this item here, it's going to automatically select presets and all the other keywords within it if I have that option selected. So if I turn this on here, once I select Lightroom, it's automatically going to select presets and any other keywords in there as well. And then for your labels, to help you stay organized, you can give the different colored labels names, and these would be the keyboard shortcuts for those particular labels if you want to add them via keyboard shortcuts. And right now I am requiring the use of the command key along with the number to be applied for that particular label. If I don't want to do that and I just want to use individual numbers, then I can turn that off. All right, so next up we have file type associations. And here you can simply let your operating system know what type of file extension you want to open in Photoshop or other types of software. So for example, if you double click any JPEG file and it doesn't open in Photoshop, then you can come in here and change it to automatically open it in your version of Photoshop. But I showed you how to do that in a previous lesson as well, which is to right-click on the image and then select the software from that pop-up window, and that will set it up within the system to automatically open it in Photoshop or another software program of your choice. So there's really no need to come in here and do it. All right, so next we have cache. And from here, you can choose whether or not you want to view 100% previews in cache, and we can automatically export caches to folders. Now, personally, I prefer to have the first option selected, and I'll leave the second one unchecked. Then you can choose the location of the stored cache, and by default, it's going to go into your library system, or you can choose a different hard drive that has more space if needed. Under Manage, you have a few different options that you need to decide on as well. The first one is the cache size. So you need to let Adobe Bridge know the maximum number of items to store. A higher number improves performance, but it's going to take up more hard drive space. So if you have a lot of hard drive space, you can increase the cache size to help improve performance. If you're limited on hard drive space, then you're going to want to select something smaller. Next, we have Compact Cache. When you first open a folder in Bridge, Bridge will need to make previews of your files in order to be able to view them in Bridge if you made that selection within the thumbnails option up here. So once Bridge makes those thumbnails, it's going to save those previews so it doesn't have to rebuild them every time you go back into the folder. Now, if you notice that Bridge is becoming slower to use, then there may be an issue with your cache. It could be you're running out of hard drive space, or maybe some of the preview files are corrupt. Or maybe you have some previews that are very old and you no longer need them because maybe you deleted the original files. So you can use Compact Cache to optimize the cache and improve performance. Now, if you decide you want to remove all the cache, you can use the Purge Cache button to delete all the previews. Just keep in mind, when you go back into any of those folders within Bridge, Bridge is going to need to remake those thumbnails all over again. So since it does take time for Bridge to make those previews, use this button with caution. All right, next we have some startup scripts. And by default, all the Adobe programs that you have installed on your computer should automatically be checked. This will allow Bridge to communicate with all the different programs. Now, there is an additional one down here called Dr. Brown's Services, and chances are good you don't have this one listed at all. This is one of my favorite scripts that I use on a regular basis in Adobe Bridge, and I did give you an introduction to that in a previous lesson. So the Dr. Brown script, if you didn't watch that particular lesson, allows me to batch process a folder of images to either resize my photos, run a particular action, and gives me more control than the feature in Adobe Bridge. And we're going to talk more about this particular script in more detail in an upcoming lesson. All right, just a few more items to go over. We have an advanced section, and you can set it up to use software rendering, which disables hardware acceleration for the preview panel in the slideshows. And then you can generate monitor size previews, and that's going to create a preview based on the resolution of your monitor. You can also request to have Bridge load up at login. So once you restart your system, it will also load Bridge automatically. These are options that I don't really need, so that's why I have them turned off. And then you can also change the language as needed down here. Next, we have interface, and just like we did with the Photoshop interface, you can choose a specific color theme, or you can adjust it manually via these sliders here. And we also have an accent color if you want to choose something versus default. Then we have our output options, and these three items are selected by default, and these are pretty self-explanatory. So just check those out and see if those are something that you want to have turned on or not, and then you're all set. To save your changes, you're going to click OK to commit all those changes. Otherwise, if you click cancel, you'll have to go back and make some changes again in order to have them applied the next time you start Adobe Bridge. All right, so there you have it, the essentials for setting up your Adobe Bridge preferences. So that wasn't so bad. Now that we have that over, we can go ahead and get started with some more fun stuff with Adobe Bridge. And we're going to do that with the next lesson, and we're going to learn how to adjust the Adobe Bridge interface and save it as a new workspace.